Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a radically simple, honestly kind of aggressively fast approach to starting a business or launching a project. We're unpacking the core concepts from Noah Kagan's book, $1 Million Weekend. And look, this isn't your standard, dry, textbook business theory. No way. It's a truly fascinating exploration into the psychology of action. We're going to look at a 48-hour execution framework that literally flips traditional, sluggish business planning completely on its head. So, I want you to really think about a pretty simple question right off the bat. What are you actually waiting for? Seriously, think about it. Think about that business idea, that creative endeavor, or maybe that side hustle you've been sitting on for months, or let's be honest, maybe even years. You've probably got notebooks full of ideas, right? Browser folders absolutely stuffed with research, but you just haven't actually taken the leap yet. Well, it's okay. You are definitely not alone in this. We all do it. We constantly trick ourselves into thinking we're just preparing, when really, we're just stalling. Now, before we talk about how to break out of that endless cycle, let's talk about the credibility of the guy behind this framework, Noah Kagan. Today, his company, AppSumo, generates over $80 million annually. I mean, that is a massive, life-changing number. That's enough to completely blow your mind. But here's the real kicker. He actually built this framework and achieved this wild success after getting fired from both Facebook and Mint. Yeah. Instead of just spiraling, he developed a foolproof system to start things incredibly fast, very cheaply, and most importantly, with real customers before spending a single dime on development. That brings us to section 1, the fear of asking. And this brilliantly illustrates the core problem. If you've been putting off your big idea, let me just validate your experience for a second. The real reason you haven't started, it isn't a lack of money, and it's not a lack of time. It's the terrifying, paralyzing fear of asking. Behavioral psychology maps this out perfectly as analysis paralysis. You know the feeling? It's that endless loop of planning and waiting. The fear of making a wrong decision basically leads you to making absolutely no decision at all. Kagan counters this with action bias. Asking, testing, doing. Because the more we plan, the more our anxiety just builds and builds. Immediate action is quite literally the only thing that breaks the loop. Moving right along to section 2, the 48-hour business plan. All right, this is where we get hyper-practical really fast. Stop planning. Stop researching. Do it this weekend. The ultimate antidote to all that endless overthinking we just talked about is slapping an extreme time constraint on yourself. By artificially compressing your launch timeline to just 48 hours, you actively eliminate the psychological space where anxiety and fear usually live. Your brain literally cannot sustain that deep, paralyzing anxiety about a decision when the decision has to be made right now. It forces you out of your head and straight into the real world. So the crucial point is how you actually spend those 48 hours to get maximum results. Kagan breaks it down into this incredibly lean, highly effective 3-step method for a weekend launch. First, we have the Dream 10. Second, the 1-minute business model. And third, the ask. Let's walk through exactly how each of these works to completely bypass your internal friction and get you moving. Step 1 is the Dream 10. You're going to sit down and write out exactly 10 business ideas. But here's the trick, and it's a big one. You give yourself exactly 10 minutes to do it. That's it. Do not filter, do not judge, just generate. The goal here isn't to find the perfect, flawless $1 million idea right out of the gate. That's way too much pressure. It's simply to unblock your brain. When you completely strip away the pressure of perfection, you will be amazed at how fast creativity actually starts to flow. Okay. Then you pick your absolute best idea from that list and run it through step 2, the 1-minute business model. It is exactly what it sounds like. Just 3 rapid-fire questions. Who has this problem? How do I reach them? What will they pay? That's the whole shebang. Seriously. Don't write a 40-page business plan. Don't commission some crazy 6-month market research study. Just answer these 3 questions right now and move on. And then we arrive at step 3. Arguably the most important step in this entire framework, the ask. Find one real person and ask them to pay you today. Notice I didn't say, ask if they'd be interested. I didn't say, ask what they think of your new logo. No, ask for actual money. This is the singular moment that separates the folks who just dream about starting a business from the people who actually own one. The magic isn't in your shiny idea, guys. The real magic is entirely in the ask. Let's transition into section 3. The psychology of action. I want to slow our pace down for just a second here to understand exactly why this radical framework works on such a deep psychological level. It all comes down to overcoming what Kagan defines as the validation gap. This is the dangerous space between having an idea and getting real, tangible evidence that it works. You see, most entrepreneurs spend months or even years building a product in complete secrecy. They isolate themselves in this gap before finding out if anyone actually wants what they're making. And sadly, this gap swallows most businesses whole before they even officially launch. So what's the absolute best solution to closing that gap? Pre-selling before building. This is a total paradigm shift for most people. You actually collect real payment before you build the final product. Now, why do that? Well, because it's not just financially smart, it's psychologically transformative. Getting real money from a real customer is the literal only validation that actually matters. Everything else, all the praise, the pats on the back, the social media likes, all of that is just theory. Cash is reality. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we actually tackle the main barrier to pre-selling, which is our own intense fear. Enter rejection therapy. It's defined as deliberately seeking rejection in low-stakes situations to build up a tolerance for the discomfort of asking. This maps directly onto exposure therapy, which is literally the most evidence-based treatment out there for anxiety. Look, avoidance just maintains your fear, but repeated exposure diminishes it. You don't cure the fear of rejection by sitting alone in your room overthinking it. You cure it by getting rejected, surviving it, and realizing, hey, I'm completely fine. So how do we practice this today? It's surprisingly simple. Go ask for a discount at a coffee shop. Just say, hey, can I get 10% off? Ask a stranger on the street for directions you don't even need. Or ask for a free upgrade on a flight or at a hotel. Now, keep in mind, the goal here isn't to actually get the upgrade or the discount. The goal is to hear the word no. When you practice surviving rejection in these super low-stakes, everyday situations, the massive anxiety around asking for your actual business drops dramatically. It's like building a muscle. And finally, let's look at section 4. Ready for what exactly? I want to bring this narrative right back to you and dismantle a massive illusion that is likely holding you back. We so often buy into the myth that entrepreneurship is an innate personality trait. We think you have to be born bold, outgoing, and just inherently confident to succeed. But the reality? Entrepreneurship is simply a skill. And just like playing the guitar or writing code, it's developed by practice, specifically the practice of asking. Confidence and certainty do not magically arrive before you start. They're the direct, inevitable consequences of taking action. Which leads us perfectly into this incredibly powerful realization from Noah Kagan. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is this weekend. I mean, wow, it perfectly encapsulates the absolute urgency of this entire framework. Stop waiting for the stars to align perfectly. Stop waiting until you feel 100% ready. Because honestly, that day is never, ever going to come. Ready for what, exactly? Think about that for a second. Are you waiting for more knowledge? More money? Absolute ironclad certainty that your idea won't fail? Kagan makes it crystal clear. None of those things will ever arrive while you're just sitting there planning. The harsh truth is, most people spend their entire lives just getting ready to start. So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If you had to launch something this weekend with absolutely no more planning and no more preparation, what would it be? Let that question force some honest, maybe slightly uncomfortable self-reflection today. Compress the gap between your idea and your execution so tightly that fear simply doesn't even have room to operate. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now get out there and start taking action.